situation that is complicated for you and that is creating an interruption in your life. You want the situation to change, but in fact, the situation is here to change you.
Every human has 3 primary needs.
We need to belong to a community. That's one of the basic, because we need to connect. That's why after COVID, everybody was craving to connect again. If you want to know someone, actually, you just look at them and how they spend their time and how they spend their money. You have a whole picture.
On this episode today, we are excited to have Stephanie Sebag, who is the international bestseller of her book, Fully Charged. Plug in your 5 charging stations to feel alive, guilt-free, and unstoppable, finally.
Stephanie is my dear, wonderful, lovely, beautiful friend who has also been coaching individuals around the world in both English and French for over 20 years about how to get out of survival mode and how to live their lives to the fullest. And she has helped many people to really come to a mental health place that I think also benefits their physical health as well. And I'm so fascinated to talk with you today about your book, Fully Charged, and what it is to be in survival mode and how the book can really help give people a roadmap to getting out of being in survival mode, and how does that impact our health generally as well.
And what we really speak about on this podcast is about we want to empower women to take charge of their health. And a big topic in the book talks about transformation. And so how is transformation better than change? So it's not just about changing your habit, you want to transform your habit. Can you elaborate on the power of transformation?
Of course. First of all, thank you for having me. So transformation is more about changing from the inside of yourself. Change is something that is coming at you, but it's not constant. So if you rely on what is coming at you, you will adjust for one day, for 1 week, for 1 month, but not necessarily change and transform. Transformation is a stronger power. It touches your value system and what you truly believe in.
Hey everyone, taking a quick second to interrupt and share something I've been using for months for my hair health, and the results are coming in. Dr. Bauman Pep Grow Hair Serum. If you're like me and want stronger, fuller, and healthier hair, this is a game changer. These specifically formulated drops work in harmony with your body's natural rhythms, one for the morning, one for the evening, to deliver around-the-clock care for your hair follicle cycle. Here's why I love it. Stronger hair, I've noticed less breakage and shedding, which means my hair feels thicker and more resilient. Scalp health, these drops are packed with powerful peptides and growth factors that nourish your scalp and create the perfect environment for healthy hair. Custom care, with the AM/PM formulas, your hair gets exactly what it needs at the right time of day. This is not just another product, it's science-backed and created by my personal doctor, Alan Bauman, one of the top names in hair restoration. Click on the link in the show notes, give it a try, report back, especially for us women in midlife. This is a must-have in your toolkit. Now, let's get back to the show. Can you tell us a little bit about what inspired you to write the book and the specific timing in which you wrote the book? I think is really interesting.
Yes, so I've been coaching for 20 years, as Dina mentioned, and 5 years ago, I started coaching soldiers leaving the army. This is exactly the work of the book. And at the same time, when I started writing the book, COVID hit. So I thought that everybody would be on survival mode. So I thought that at the end of COVID, most people would want to have something to read. So I started writing it, and then I published it on Amazon so that it's available for everyone.
Can you define that for us? What is survival mode? What does that mean?
So survival mode is when you focus on what is outside of your system, on all the events that are coming at you and all the people's comments, instead of focusing on what's inside of you. Managing one crisis after another, and basically managing interruptions in your life without a very clear direction. So usually you feel empty, you feel tired, and you don't understand why.
And that impacts our physical health as well, I would imagine.
Yes.
So what is a way that a person, if they feel, I think all of us were in COVID, we all were in survival mode, and some of us lived it longer than others based upon where we actually resided. How can somebody go from survival mode into thriving mode? What is something like a first step somebody should do in order to tap back into them versus just dealing with what the outside world is giving them?
Exactly. So the first step is to create a vision. Because with a vision, you have to go back in yourself and have a very, have your eyesight focus on something else than just what is coming at you. So you're not managing anymore what is coming at you, but you're really proactive. So that's the first thing. And then that's for the soul. And then for the body, what I recommend is to connect to your 5 senses. So go to a spice store, go to a perfume store and smell as many things as possible and just decide if you like it or not. Just to reconnect to yourself. That's
to be present, to be
present, eat something that you like, listen to a music that you like. Very often we want to please people or we want to, make concessions. And in the end, we lose a little bit of ourselves. Yeah. So it's nice to reconnect to who we are.
So you mentioned in the book about creating a vision board so that somebody can sort of start to tap back into themselves. So instead of just dealing with whatever life is thrown at them, they actually take a moment and think about what are my goals and what do I want. So creating the power of a vision board. I mean, Oprah's been saying that forever in order to make it an actualization. So what would be the next step after you actually sit with yourself and decide what do I want and you make your goals? How do you then take the next step? What would that be?
So the next step is to check into your inner language. So that's charging station 3, because that's what's going to get in your way of achieving all of this. Every goal of every human being is to realize its potential in the reality. So once you have your vision board, you know where you're going, you're going to get into your own way because of what you learn in the past, because of how you read a situation. So these do not confuse, and I think there are 20 do not confuse in charging station 3, is really to understand and to gain clarity in order to move forward. Usually when you're stuck, it's because you're confused.
That makes sense. I think so many people aspire to make a change, to better themselves, to do more, whatever it is, but they always end up getting in their own way.
Exactly.
And is that because we create the vision, but then we're just not able to get out of ourselves to then get past moving forward? And so once we then create that direction, how do you avoid, kind of like the self-talk that kind of like makes you go backwards?
So clarity. You don't, the only thing that gets in your way is when you start doubting. So you just get clarity. And if you have a very clear vision of where you're going, and that's another thing we speak about it in the book, it's a difference between I would like to and I want.
Right.
It has to be I want, because then you can overcome all the challenges. If it's just like, I would like to, at the first problem, you're going to be like, you know what? I didn't ask for that. So let me just get out of here.
I like that. It actually made me think of how I write emails, because even you say, I hope, versus instead of saying I hope, you say I want.
Yes.
Right? So just, it's that self-talk where we're trying to be polite, I think, because I like to try to be polite when I'm
It's
like
how
speaking.
you start the day.
Yeah.
Personally, it's my own internal monologue.
Yes.
Right.
When I wake up in the morning, and what is my language with myself and my conversation with myself in the morning. And in your book, constantly you're talking about the importance of the words that
Yes.
we're using. And
Yes.
I felt, we read more and more about how those little things make a huge difference on a molecular level with our bodies almost,
Yes.
and the energy around us.
Exactly.
Can you talk about that a little bit, about the importance of the words that we're
So
choosing?
when you say something, it will actually happen. It becomes your reality. Before saying anything, it doesn't exist. But when you say it, it does exist. So that's very important to check first your understanding of your language before moving forward. Some people set their intention at the beginning of the day. That's exactly it.
Mm-hmm. And if you're somebody like me who struggles with knowing what the goals should be, Amber talked about
Yes.
a vision board. Is that the primary tool that you would suggest into figuring out your goals? And what at the beginning of this process of the 5 charging stations, figuring out your goal, if you don't know it offhand, is that a good place to start?
That's a good place to start. And then there is an exercise in the book, I forgot which page, where you can check if you're on track to achieve your goals. If you spend enough time, if it belongs to a very strong value, because it's a whole. So you have a goal, but you always have also a value. Very important. It has to be linked with a value. Otherwise, it's not really a goal. It's just I would like.
Yeah.
I want is really, it's a strong value. It's important for me. So then when you allocate enough time and you link it to a value, then your goal is achievable.
Right. I love that. I mean, I usually start the year, especially I love teaching the kids about setting goals. And I think just the act of actually thinking about creating goals
Yes.
is, it takes a little bit of effort, but it probably is more powerful than we even realize, because the power of words, like you're saying, you're creating the goal, then you need to prioritize how am I going to then achieve that goal, right? But if we don't even have a goal in the first place, then nothing's really probably going to happen.
So to go back to your point about time and space, you need to create this time and space to create this goal.
Yeah.
To think about the goals.
Right.
And very often we're busy, and life is like going, and then we didn't think about the goals. Correct. So we need to create that. We need to be very conscious about it.
I've seen this happen in my own family, where you set a goal and you're making steps towards it and you're going through the charging stations, and then something happens in life that throws you off.
Okay.
Which, of course, there's so many variables and so many things that can happen. And I've seen members of my family who will remain nameless, but kind of say, okay, well, that's it. Like, all right, I'm done. I tried. What is the correct response?
How do you get back on the road?
You nailed it. Okay, you nailed it. When you have a situation that is complicated for you and that is in creating an interruption in your life, you want the situation to change. But in fact, the situation is here to change you. So if you accept the challenge, and if you accept that the situation will change you, it will change you, but not your direction. You will still be on track. The worst feeling is when people say, how does it feel to be on survival mode? Is when you're sitting on the sidewalk of your life instead of moving forward on the road, on your path. You know what I mean?
That's very interesting. Yeah.
So very often this situation will put you on the sidewalk. You're going to be stuck, but you have to go back. And you're not going to make a detour. No, you have your direction. So if you accept that this is like a platform, it's going to change you, it's going to transform you, and then you go back.
You have to accept that to have the good, there needs to be a bit of a challenge. I mean, yes. There is a reason that yin and yang is a symbol in life, and that it can't all be a straight path forward.
So that's the difference between giving back and giving forward. So when you give back, it's something really nice happening to you, and then you're full of gratitude, so you want to give back. Giving forward is something really not fun happening to you, but you learn the lesson, you become stronger, and you're able to give forward to people who actually can benefit from it.
Yeah. You mentioned in the book that every human has 3 primary needs. Can
Yes.
you tell us what those are and what happens when you achieve all 3?
So that's a big part of the book. So I don't want to give away all of this.
Don't give it all away.
But yeah, we need to belong to a community. That's one of the basic, because we need to connect. We're not made to be
I think we
otherwise.
learned that in COVID too,
Right?
especially. Absolutely.
That's why after COVID, everybody was craving to connect again.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't need, of course you need to be around people for the energy, but you're also just thinking about someone, calling the person. If you think about cell phone, we keep on texting people, but texting is a transactional mode. It's not connecting with people.
It's not the same.
Right?
Yeah.
When I call you, so now there is this new thing where I text you to know if I can call you. This is crazy, right? And we're not even aware of it. But
yeah, like, are you?
I'm just calling you because I think of you. And if you're busy, it's okay, but at least you know that I think of you. You know?
Yeah,
and just this connection is already bringing a lot of good things in your body, in your mind, in your, you feel connected.
Right. It's almost like we need to revert back to the old days. Like, we had so much amazing things at our fingertips and, technology, but we kind of forgot about the basics of just simple connection of just talking and hearing the person's voice, hearing their tone. Yeah. You can read them through the phone. Like, are you having a good day? Are you having a bad day? Something wrong? What's going on? You're excited. You don't get that through text.
No. Stephanie and I have we try weekly to take a walk together with our dogs.
Yeah, I love that.
And I have to say it's a highlight of my week, because it's one of the few times that I am doing a light physical activity outdoors and having pleasant conversation with a friend. Yeah. And it fills so many different buckets in a very positive way. And checking off walking the dog on top of it.
It's not only your duty, like, okay, I have to walk the dog from that. It's like a moment.
Yes.
So you want to create moments with people.
Yes. It comes up so much in everybody that we've talked to, the moments, the rituals. That keeps coming back. And every expert that we've interviewed, I think everybody has talked about ritual and the importance of being mindful in those rituals. And that's a lot about what you talk about as well.
When you experience a moment with your friends, with anybody, like you can feel it, the other person can feel it. Actually, you got this space and time. It was under your control. You know, you used it for something good.
Right.
It didn't.
Yeah, I love how you talk about spending your time versus investing your time, and that the future is a result of organizing your time in the present. Yes. And I think that is such an important point as adults for us to learn as mothers, right? You know, we get really busy and we sort of become the last on the list to focus on when we're working to make it number one first so we could be strong for our family. You know, that filters on not just, you know, the family, your friends, business, whatever it may be. Yeah. What is the difference versus spending your time and investing your time?
So spending your time is really passive. You know, investing your time is very conscious. You're working towards your vision and you have control over your time. Think about it, the difference between, because I talk about freedom in Charging Station 4, the difference between a slave and a person that is free is that you have control over your time and how you spend your money, actually. Two things. So how you spend your time and how you spend your money. It does define you. If you want to know someone, actually, you just look at them and how they spend their time and how they spend their money. You have a whole picture. And then how they drive. But that's another, you know, you get into the car with them.
That's an added one.
But honestly, so when you have control over your time, we were talking about boundaries before, it's very important. It's very healthy. And if I do that and I'm teaching that to my kids, they also have clear boundaries and it's very healthy for them.
Absolutely. I think it's important for the kids, you know, to lead by example and to show them however you're managing your life is then a vision for them of how they'll lead theirs when they get older. And, you know, even how you guys take the walks with your dogs, you know, that is a priority of, you know, being together and connecting. Exactly. And it's so nourishing for your souls and for your day and for the dog that gets to go to have a nice leisurely walk too. I think especially because we all lived in New York City, you know, this essence of busyness really, especially pre-COVID, was just out of control. Like everyone I would speak to, I'm just so busy. We're all just so busy being busy. I think we really need to take a moment to pause. And COVID was kind of a good way to make the whole world just stop. Yeah. And it was almost like it just needed to stop. For better or for worse, it stopped a little too long. I'm sure most would agree. But it probably gave people a moment and, you know, for people to kind of think back to that time of what were the priorities then.
It's funny because when COVID started, I was walking with a friend in Central Park and I said, a lot of people are going to be spending time with themselves. Some people will like it, some people won't. Because when you're busy and you don't have a purpose, you don't have a sense of like, why am I here? It's very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
To be stuck like this. Okay, so now what do I do? I'm not busy anymore. So you have to be very, very conscious about being busy, but in a good way, in a building mode, not because you're managing interruptions all the time in your life.
Yeah. And finding something, it doesn't even have to be, I think, a person working of like, what nourishes your soul. You know, I moved to Miami in COVID, a close friend of mine, we said, what has been missing? We've been living there now 3 years. And the first year was a weird year. And so basically almost like the last 2 years has been a little bit more normal. This was our first real normal school year, 22 to 23. And we said it was about being connected to charity and giving back to the local community. And luckily we had so many people are now kind of newbies in Miami that we've all are transplants that, you know, lived in other cities, and we came during COVID and we connected with an organization and we really got a tour to learn about what's happening in town. And we took a day. I mean, it was a commitment, and we stopped and we took a day and we went and learned, and we were so excited to see how we can then bring our kids to connect with these local organizations so that we really craved giving back. And like that is technically free, right?
And it's physically good for you, right? Mentally, emotionally, and physically good for you to do that. No matter what your circumstance in life, to do something good for somebody else will benefit you. Right? And even if it's a small act of kindness, it doesn't have to.
Right, it doesn't have to be some grand gesture. Even just in my neighborhood is so charming and cute. There's a lot of elderly people, you know, in their 90s or even 100, And I see the neighbors like walk across the street and they like bring them little gifts or a meal and this and that. Just that. I mean, it's such a, I think we forgot the act, like we're talking about the simplicity, just like simple acts of kindness and simple ways of being present with yourself. And really, we got to like step back into us and our bodies. We've been busy outsourcing and right.
Exactly. And what I thought is that COVID reminded us that we all have a soul, because in order to give to other people and to feel this connection, which is we're all one soul actually. So that's why when you give to others, when you're kind to other people, we're all connected.
Yeah.
But some people were disconnected from their souls because they were so busy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important to go inside and take the time to reconnect your body and your soul before doing anything.
Now, I think a good point you bring. So when you do that, that brings a sense of happiness.
Yes.
Now, is there a difference between happiness and joy?
So in the book, we talk about.
I'm smiling because I know.
Yeah,
this
we
is
talk
a big...
about pleasure. Okay, so very often when you feel empty because you're disconnected from your soul, you would want to add many pleasures to feel happy. But the truth is that it doesn't work this way, because you can add many pleasures, it will still stay in the world of the pleasure, which is outside of your body, which is only for your body. If you really want to experience happiness, it comes from the inside, it comes from your soul. And it's from me to the world. So it's when I connect with people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it was so sad, this COVID, because you couldn't connect with people.
Right.
And unfortunately, a lot of people fell into the world of pleasures thinking that they would be happy.
Yes.
And now they need to go back to, I need to create this joy. I need to connect with people.
Right. I think the first, if somebody were to analyze it, post-COVID, it was sort of like the jailbreak and everyone's out and about and socializing and getting together. And that was so exciting and nourishing. But then, at least in Miami, it became this whole materialistic drive. Think about it. People were buying cars. They were buying watches. It was the shopping was out of control. Lines outside the store, right? So I wonder if now we're sort of almost 2 years past that point that they were trying to fill themselves from the outside. And all of a sudden now enough time has gone by where they realize, hey, that's actually not making me happy.
Exactly.
I might need to actually do the work to deep dive back inside.
Yes,
to
and I hope they will do it.
Yeah. I think there's hopefully a calling for people. We're trying to.
Well, that's part of why we're doing this interview.
To empower people to maybe stop. I think we're, moms. Dina has 3 kids. I have 2 kids. How many kids do you have? 3 kids. Being a mother is a full-time job. You never really get a day off. And I think sometimes, once your kids hit a certain age, you kind of realize you maybe lost yourself within your family. And we're trying to help women pull themselves back out to say, hey, you are a person, you have needs, and you are a priority. And you got to find your family can bring you joy, but you also need to find individual personalized joys.
I would add to that, and something that it took me years to learn, is you are benefiting your family by being your best self. And you helped me to learn that too. Yes. I mean, I always felt like, okay, I'm going to take care of everybody. I'll put myself last and, all of that. My mother always told me the story of my great grandmother in, now the Czech Republic, then the Czechoslovakia, how she would feed they didn't have 12 children and they had no money. And she would feed one chicken for all the children. And she'd save a little piece for herself, putting herself last.
Yeah.
Because she loved her children and that came from love and that's beautiful. But you are actually doing your family. It is the benefit of your family to make sure that you are strong also.
Exactly.
And that's not a bad thing.
I think it's breaking the conditioning of that too.
Exactly. Yes. And they need to know that we can both exist on the same world.
Yes.
You don't need to sacrifice yourself for me.
Right.
We can. No, it's important.
I agree.
No, because when they're very young, okay, you have to be on their needs. They cannot do anything without you. But then when they start to be more independent, you have to be able to move back and say, okay, so that you can do it by yourself, we can, it's always an adjustment. That's why it's so complicated, but at the same time, it's a beautiful job to be a mom.
Absolutely.
So,
and it's something else that I think we've talked about a little bit that I think is part of this general conversation is also the impact of generational trauma and what we bring with us from our family histories and the baggage that we bring, good and bad. Can you talk a little bit about how that plays into the 5 charging stations mentioned in the book?
So for example, I'm going to talk about my case. So my parents are from Tunisia. Their own parents, one is from Italy, one is from Libya, and then I was born in France. When I interviewed my dad to understand exactly what happened in Tunisia when they left, they were basically refugees because they left everything. They couldn't take anything. So this refugee syndrome is still in my mind. Mm-hmm. And if I'm not aware of it, I will bring it to my kids and I will be on survival mode all the time instead of building my life. I would always be waiting for somebody to tell me it's time to go. So just things like this. Yeah. That's why you have to understand the history of your ancestors. It's very important because it's in your mind. Mm-hmm. So it's better to talk about it, to get rid of it, just to clear it for your kids.
And it's a balance, I think, yes. Also. I mean, because having history like that, I have a different but similar. My parents were admitted to this country as refugees. It also helps you keep perspective too, yes. And not lose gratitude for where you are. And finding the balance, I think, is the beauty. And I think your book really helped speak to that to me a little bit as well.
Yes, I think that your book helps to give a roadmap on how a person can find their way back to themselves. Yes, you have in the back of the book, there's definitely these little exercises that people can do to write down their goals, monitor how you're spending your time. What would you say are 3 tips of ways for us to not lose ourselves if somebody wanted to, a quick snapshot?
That's a good one. Okay. First of all, make sure your decision-making process is inside of you, not outside. So I created this decision roundabout that is very easy to use. Even a 5th grader used it recently.
Great.
Which made me happy. So that's one thing. Second of all, create space and time for yourself. Every day. Just to be with yourself. Just to think.
Block out the calendar.
Yeah.
And not to be on Instagram. That doesn't mean,
No. Create a date with yourself. Like it's important to be comfortable to be with yourself, not to feel like, oh my God, I don't want to be with myself. Next one is really make sure you laugh every day. Honestly, that's especially now.
Yes,
it's like every time somebody's sending me something and I laugh, I'm like, thank you so much.
Yes.
It's like
me and my friends, we just send each other like funny memes all day long.
This is
on
the best.
Instagram, and it's amazing. And then my husband is always watching comedians. Whatever it is that's your medium that you find amusing, it is it brings joy. Number one, and I think it is so healing. They say laughter is so healing for your body. I mean, we watch America's Funniest on Sundays with the kids. That's sort of been a Berger household tradition. And just hearing the kids laugh like that is so... Yeah. It just makes me, like, our hearts warm.
My family laughs a lot. We find a lot of, also as the children grow and their bodies start to change, we talk a lot about this in my house, and a lot of it is funny. We laugh with the children about it. I mean that with love. I mean, you're like, I feel it,
like and awkward phases, you got to laugh your way through
There's a lot of awkward questions. There's a lot of, is this supposed to be growing here kind of questions. And we laugh with them, which that brings me the most joy. That one, they'll talk to us about that kind of thing, and 2, we should make these are beautiful things that are happening, and they're funny too, and there's no harm in finding humor in that. So you're saying watch video. Ours is a little bit more.
Well, it goes both ways. I think we have all of it. But what I think is actually, it just hit me that is so interesting. I think your book is actually a really great roadmap for all ages. Like really somebody can be, they don't even need to be a teenager. They can be younger. You said you had a 5th grader, right? They have more homework at that, there's a big transitional stage. So they're going to have to learn how to manage their time, set their priorities between sports, after school, whatever they're into. It's kind of a family book, really, that, the adults can take away, and the parents as well as the kids.
So that's the feedback that I got, that it should be in every family library.
Yeah.
It's good. It's a good read. Yeah.
And as you said to me, that a feedback that you just got, somebody said it's the primer for any life.
Yes.
And that's true. Any life, any age, it gives you a good foundation about how to organize it.
I was going to say one of the questions was, what comes first? Is it the mindset or the habit? From your book, it seems like you first need actually the mindset in order to then move forward.
So the mindset, right? Because we all have habits, okay? But the whole idea is to rewire yourself correctly.
Correct.
To remove these habits that are not serving you and to create new habits. But before creating new habits, you have to have a very strong mindset, because we're going to go back to the previous habit if we don't have a very strong mindset. So let's build this strong mindset, and then let's take one habit at a time and then change it little by little.
I think that's great. I think we end on that, is that, take a moment, get the book fully charged.
Fully charged. Thank you so much, Stephanie. This
Thank
is
you,
such
Stephanie.
a pleasure, really. And this book has been the most concretely helpful that I've ever read, because it really gives you the tools that you need. It's not just the philosophy. Of course, the philosophy is there, but also the how-to. And I think that's what all of us really need is the direction and the motivation.
Thank
a
you.
roadmap to success. So thank you.
Thank you,
for
ladies.
coming today.
Thank you so much.
Subscribe to The Well Drop on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your podcast. Share with a friend who can benefit from listening too. Follow us on social media at The Well Drop.